Hi, I'm Angela Crawford. I'm a psychologist and author of The Vegan Transformation. And today we're going to be talking about staying on track even through stressful times. And this is geared especially for those of us who are vegan or on the vegan path with some of the stressors that we might face on this journey. And as I get started, I want to have you think about what are the stressors that take you off track? What are the things that either get you off track in terms of your goals or your vision or how you respond to things? Be holding that in mind as I'm talking today. And so maybe you can relate to some of the scenarios that I'm about to share. Through my research for my book, The Vegan Transformation, as well as surveys that I've done in follow up to that, people have shared some of the challenges or stressors that they face as part of this vegan journey in a world that isn't yet vegan. So I'm going to read a few of these to you. Um, my family and friends think I'm crazy or strange for not eating meat, dairy, or eggs. I feel isolated and frustrated with those around me not understanding about veganism. I feel sad about animal cruelty, and I'm afraid I'm not making a big enough difference to help stop it. Sometimes I feel like my family and friends see my veganism as an inconvenience or a burden. It's challenging to be the only vegan in my immediate social circle. I worry about my loved ones who have health challenges but won't even consider changing the way they eat or eating more plants. I feel upset about all the suffering in the world. I don't know how to handle the feelings that come up or how to communicate with my loved ones who just don't get it. Or I dread going to social events where everyone is eating meat, dairy, or other animal sourced foods. So, for those of you that are on the vegan path, perhaps you can relate to some of those stressors or challenge, and perhaps you have your own. And on top of that, not only do we face these particular stressors, but we also have just the stresses of everyday life. And so when we are stressed or overwhelmed, it's very common that our body is going to go into fight, flight mode or freeze mode, where we're either ready to kind of fight or argue or, get angry or maybe flee or get away from the situation or just freeze, not be sure at all what to do. And whatever way we react, we tend to be disconnected from our wise brain. We may be emotionally dysregulated where we're not handling our emotions well. Generally, our creativity and our openness to new possibilities are shut down. And the reality is, when we're in fight or flight mode, it is contagious. Have you ever had that happen where, you're upset or angry or, you know, really triggered, and then when you try to communicate, it triggers the person you're talking to, so they respond in fight or flight mode themselves. And so then when we have stress, if it's chronic, it can take a toll on us physically, emotionally, and also in our relationships. And, I think many of us can certainly relate to that experience and perhaps even getting a sense of burnout from really chronic stress that keeps recurring. So the reality is we can't get rid of all of our stress. Maybe you've tried. I haven't discovered a way to do that, especially living in this world. And there's times that things are more stressful, you know, in terms of things going on around us globally, locally, and also our own lives. But I also think stress is a natural outcome of when we are growing and stretching and daring to really live by our conscience, our convictions, our values, especially if doing so makes us different than the status quo around us. So, as vegans, that's definitely happening for many of us that we we are living differently than, many of the people in our social circle and around us, and that requires stretching ourselves a bit of how to navigate those situations, how to handle them with fulfillment and peace, and still stay connected to people that we care about, even when there's differences, and even when we're dealing with tough feelings. And so, what we can learn to do, even though we can't get rid of stress, is how to respond with greater emotional resilience. And this is something I've been thinking a lot about lately, knowing that this has been a tough time for me living in this world. I'd say for a long time, but the last year or so has been a really tough time. And so having ways that, we can navigate the world and still stay true to ourselves and still stay peaceful, still find ways to find joy, even in the midst of so many things perhaps not being exactly as we'd hope in terms of compassion for all beings. So, what is resilience and why does it matter for vegans? Well, I'm going to start with the American Psychological Association definition of resilience. They define it as the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life circumstances or experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility. And it's important to note that resilience is not just something that we're born with or not. And, we can actually build and develop resilience skills. So it's something that we can nurture and develop. And that's really important that we all can get better at our resilience. Resilience helps us to navigate and even grow from the challenges and stressors and traumas of life. And when we strengthen our resilience, it helps us to manage the difficult times and actually empowers us to become a fuller version of ourselves. And you might be able to relate to this if you think about a tough time you've gone through and how perhaps it led you to grow into even more strengths than you even knew you had. And that's been true for me with being vegan. While it's brought me some challenges in learning how to navigate situations that have sometimes not always felt easy, it's also led me to be more committed to what really matters to me. And so rather than becoming derailed or giving up when faced with stressful events, highly resilient people find a way to emotionally heal, adapt when needed, and keep moving toward their vision. And so as vegans, we face the everyday stressors of life that anyone might face. But on top of that, we also have some social and emotional challenges we might deal with, such as those I mentioned earlier, that are unique to the vegan journey. That when you're eating differently than people around you, when you're seeing things that others around you don't seem to see or connect with in the same way that you do, when you have concerns that others have not connected to or awakened to, there's all these different feelings that can come up that are really unique to our vegan journey. And so resilience can help us stay true to our values as we learn to navigate the different challenges. So I'm going to talk about 5 tips to nurture your resilience. So first of all, remember your past times of resilience. Often when I am talking to people who have been going through a tough time, they have a history of other times they've gone through challenges where they handled it with a grace and wisdom and strength that often they now sort of minimize as if it was no big deal. But really, those past challenges took a great deal of commitment and initiative and willingness to learn and grow. And we can draw on those past experiences to help us through whatever difficulties we might face now. And so it can help just to start by remembering times that you overcame something that at the time was very difficult, even if now you look back and it doesn't seem as hard because you've gotten through it. Remembering those times where it felt really hard and something in you pushed through. What can you learn from those experiences? And can you connect with the feelings of those experiences so that you can realize that that you that is resilient is still there, and you can draw on those same strengths to help you now. Learn skills to calm your nervous system. We all need tools to help us navigate emotions and the difficult feelings that can come up and to bring our nervous system back into balance. And so there's a lot of different ways we can do that. I have a couple of resources I'm going to share at the very end that can give you some ways that you can calm your nervous system. But just very quickly, I'll name a few. Things like naming what you're feeling as a start can sometimes help just by giving language to the feelings you're having, maybe even writing them out briefly on paper. It gives you that distance so that you can realize that you aren't your feelings, they're just experiences that you're having in the moment, and it helps you have a little bit of separation and also some relief just to acknowledge that they're there. And then tools that calm your nervous system, like breathing techniques or yoga or meditation or taking a walk in nature, talking to a good friend. I think I've mentioned the journaling that can be so helpful. So, all these just different ways that we can get our feelings out, acknowledge them, and then reset our nervous system with things like breathing techniques and other ways that we calm the mind, body, spirit. One tool that for a very quick sort of calming is the 4-7-8 breathing technique, where basically you take 4 breaths, breathing in to the count of 4 through your nose, pausing and holding for 7, and then breathing out slowly through your mouth for 8, and then repeating that and just doing that for about 4 breaths. And if you do that morning and night and maybe, other times when you need it, it sort of resets and helps your parasympathetic, the calming part of your nervous system kick in. So it's just a good tool that you can have in your toolkit, and we often need a lot of different ways because you're gonna need different things at different times. Build positive support. We all need people who are on our team, who have our back, and so it's helpful, if you're on the vegan journey to connect with other networks of people who are also on that path, whether it be a plant-based support group, a vegan group, local, online. And then also asking the people that are close to you to be a support to you. If you have loved ones who are not willing or ready to go on that vegan plant-based path, ask them to at least support your journey so that you know that they understand why this is important to you and that they will make supportive comments rather than negative comments. It's really important when we're changing our lifestyle or trying to live a certain lifestyle that we have people in our immediate circle who get why this matters to us and try to support us. I'll also mention, 2 more things. Noticing the good. Our brains are geared to notice what isn't working or what's not right in the world or what isn't right in our life. But we need to also remind ourselves of what is good. And we sometimes have to search for that. That helps us build resilience by really thinking about why what we're doing matters and that there is good happening towards what we care about. So make it a point of searching for that. And that's where things like the gratitude journal can be so helpful. It just we're really trying to get our brain to tune into the positives around us and taking positive action. Joan Baez, the songwriter and singer, and she was an activist. She said that action is the antidote to despair. And it's this idea that when we are taking positive action in ways that matter to us, It helps us to feel less helpless and to feel more purpose in what we're doing. And for each of us, that's going to look different. We all have different gifts, different passions, different ways we want to serve. But often finding a way to serve with our gifts and connect with others that care about the same things can really help sometimes to feel more hope, even in difficult times. So I want to share a couple of resources for you that can add to your resilience tools. One is my free vegan emotional resilience toolkit, and the QR code here, you can scan that to download the free toolkit. It has 5 different resilience tools in it to help with your ways you can cope through the ups and downs of this vegan journey. And that's just a short ebook that you can access. And for those of you that want to go deeper, I'm starting a new program. It's a group coaching program for people on the vegan path called the Vegan Resilience Intensive. And it's about, dealing with the emotional and social challenges of living vegan and how we can be more resilient and empowered and effective and how we navigate that. And it starts June 23rd. And this QR code will give you more details about the program. Um, there is some early discount pricing up till I think June 11th. So definitely feel free to scan that and to join me if that's something that will be helpful to you. We can all learn ways to build our resilience so that we can navigate stressors in more impactful and empowered ways. And so I want to invite you, if any of this kind of hit home for you, what were the tools or the ideas that most resonated for you? Please feel free to share those in the comments. And just wishing you well on your path to nurturing your resilience. I think there's one other thing we have to remember is that we too are sentient beings with limits and needs. And so remembering just to take care of yourself in mind, body, and spirit. That self care part is so important to being resilient and staying the course. So take care, and I'll see you next time.